Happy Independence, Nigerians. I bring you new stories making the rounds at this hour. Tinubu grants provisional allowance to federal workers. 63 years later, Nigeria's challenges persist. Nigeria, 63 years, a nation with great potential. Amid hardship, leaders urge Nigerians to stay hopeful. Governor Mutuang Uke's hazard pay for health workers. Stay with me for this and more stories. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Nigeria president, has declared that there will be temporary increase in salary for government workers. He said this in his speech in commemoration of the 63rd independence anniversary of Nigeria on Sunday, October 1st, 2023. According to the president, the new increment will be for the next 6 months. Tinubu said it is one of the routes his administration is taking to relieve the stress on families and households. He said, and I quote, "There is no joy in seeing the people of this nation shoulder burdens that should have been shared years ago. I wish today's difficulties did not exist, but we must endure if we are to reach the good side of our future. My government is doing all that it can to ease the load. I will now outline the path we are taking to relieve the stress on our families and households. We have embarked on several public sector reforms to stabilize the economy, direct fiscal and monetary policy to fight inflation, encourage production, ensure the security of lives and property, and lend more support to the poor and the vulnerable. Based on our talks with labor, business, and other stakeholders, we are introducing a provisional wage increment to enhance the federal minimum wage without causing undue inflation. For the next 6 months, the average low-grade worker shall receive an additional 25,000 naira per month. To ensure better grassroots development, we set up an infrastructure support fund for states to invest in critical areas. States have already received funds to provide relief packages against the impact of rising food and other prices. Tinubu stated that brave reforms were needed to place the country on the path of prosperity and growth, which on that occasion he announced the end of the fuel subsidy. He said he is attuned to the hardships that have come and everybody must endure this trying moment. Speaking further, he pointed out that reform may be painful, but is what greatness and the future needed, and that his administration now carries the cost of reaching a future Nigeria where the abundance and fruits of the nation are equally shared among all, not accumulated by a select and greedy few. On Saturday, October 1st, 1960, days of celebratory events, cultural dance and fireworks trailed the announcement of Nigeria's independence from British colonial rule. At home and abroad, the spirit was the same. Irrespective of tribe, religion, and political leaning, citizens of the most promising black race came together out en masse to celebrate the opportunity to witness the historic event or be part of its making. But Nigeria was not alone. It was around the middle of the 20th century, amidst the great wave of independence sweeping across Africa. For activists at the time, the continent could now breathe in peace as the clock of colonialism was gradually rolled away. For Nigerians, independence brought optimism in the possibility of a future where the country could do better across all development indices, hope that its challenges will gradually give way to massive development. Many hope the infrastructure deficit and other challenges that saturated the preceding years will finally be tackled. Not many people, however, foresaw the negative possibilities on the other side of self-governance. Only 6 years later, the euphoria soon gave way to bloodshed that pushed not just Nigeria, but the continent into the dark age of forceful takeover of power. The ruins of those dark years still linger in the form of misgovernance, bad leadership, unemployment, infrastructure decay, insecurity, and poor perception in Africa and yonder. Although successive leadership is sure to roll that dark realities away or at least reduce them, some of the problems have not gone away decades after. Worse, they now form the collective identity of Nigeria, stunting her growth and the quality of life for many of her citizens. As the green and white flags flap on October 1st every year in celebration of freedom and sovereignty, they also flap in the face of unsettled challenges. Though not new, the challenges have evolved with times, and many young Nigerians today find themselves caught in a mess they did not even begin. According to many Nigerians, the problems facing the country, rather than dispel, have continued to change at an alarming rate from the time of Tafawa Balewa, who was the first prime minister between 1960 and 1966, to incumbent President Bola Tinubu, reports say. Nnamdi Azikiwe, who was the Nigeria's first president from 1963 to 1966, after which Major General John C. Agui-Ironsi ruled from January 1966 to July 1966. After him was General Yakubu Gowon from 1966 to 1975, while General Murtala Mohammed ruled from 1975 to 1976. After his assassination in February 1976, General Olusegun Obasanjo became the head of state from 1976 to 1979, and he later handed over power to the democratically elected president Shehu Shagari, who governed from 1979 to 1983, before Major General Muhammadu Buhari overthrew his government and ruled from 1983 to 1985. General Ibrahim Babangida ousted Buhari and ruled from 1985 to 1993, after which he installed Ernest Shonikon as the head of interim national government, which lasted from August to November 1993, when General Sani Abacha sacked his government and took over power. The late Abacha ruled from 1993 to 1998, and after his death on June 8, 1998, General Abdulsalami Abubakar became the head of state. He later handed over power to democratically elected President Olusegun Obasanjo in May 1999. Obasanjo was the president till 2007. He was succeeded by Umaru Yar'Adua, who died in office in May 2010, and his deputy, Goodluck Jonathan, became the president and was in office till 2015. President Muhammadu Buhari took over power from him, and after his second term terminated, in May 2023, Tinubu was sworn in as the president of Nigeria. In spite of the number of presidents that have led the country, however, many Nigerians say the same old problems persist, and now in newer forms. For example, the stable electric power supply that eluded Nigeria decades ago has continued to hurt young and old Nigerians. The noise of generators may have staved off total darkness, but the unstable power supply has deteriorated over the years. The youth, full of energy and potential, also battle unemployment or underemployment. Security challenges remain real and deadly, while disunity festers even as calls for good governance grow louder day by day. Now for 63 years has been the same fictive narrative for Nigeria has all the potential to lead the world. For so long, this potential has remained latent, quite unclear when as a hen it will come to roost. Close observers have noted that the country's economic potential, for instance, is constrained by many structural and asymmetric and systemic issues, including inadequate infrastructure, tariff and non-tariff barriers to trade and investment, lack of confidence in local currency valuation, and limited capacity to attract foreign exchange. But at the head of all this is the political leadership deficient in direction and purpose. As the country turns 63 today, rather than rolling out the drums in celebrations, Nigerians are wearing mournful looks with disquieting present and uncertain future as companions. Ordinarily, there should have been much enthusiasm, color, and fetting to mark the seemingly milestone. Out there on the streets, the gloomy faces, less hoisting of the country's flag on cars, and nonchalant attitude of the majority of the citizens towards the celebration tell the true state of the country. Apart from the masses who are being weighed down by the growing burden of economic hardship, low-key celebration is even experienced at the state and federal levels. A chief press secretary to a South governor disclosed that his principal is considering a low-key celebration as the body language of the masses in the state is not supportive. The Abuja-based commercial lawyer noted that Nigeria lags among its peers across the developmental indices. For Chijoke Umelahi, a former Abia State lawmaker, Nigeria has huge potential for greatness, but has been held down from truly being the giant of Africa because of poor leadership over the years. He also taxed the political class on security and sincerity and little love for the masses because they have always been at the receiving end. Meanwhile, some others think otherwise. They consider the over 20 years of democracy as achievement and the unity of Nigeria despite many challenges in the 63 years of its existence as things to celebrate. Nigerians have been encouraged to remain steadfast and keep hope in the country alive as Nigeria marks its 63rd independence anniversary today amidst economic hardship and security challenges. Ex-President Muhammadu Buhari and Goodluck Jonathan, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, his deputy Benjamin Kalu, state governors and other prominent leaders in their goodwill messages noted that in spite of the present economic challenges in the country, Nigeria has recorded significant milestones in its journey to greatness. Remember, the federal government said no world leader was invited for this year's ceremony. George Akume, the secretary to the government of the Federation, SGF, who stated this during a press conference in Abuja, said the decision was taken in line with the present economic realities. The theme for this year's anniversary is Nigeria at 63, Renewed Hope for Unity and Prosperity. Congratulating Nigerians, Buhari said for 63 years, Nigeria continues to inspire the rest of the continent with the creativity and diversity of its citizens and now a long span of democratic rule. I am very optimistic that democracy will continue to gain strength year after year in our nation. On his part, Jonathan applauded Nigerians for their persistence and loyalty to the country in the face of the modest successes recorded and the developmental challenges the nation has faced since independence. He encouraged Nigerians not to despair but to remain committed to the task of charting a more progressive path for a greater tomorrow, noting that the anniversary offers citizens and leaders the opportunity to reflect on Nigeria's journey of nationhood. Also, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the 2023 general election, Atiku Abubakar, said Nigeria is at a crossroads. According to him, the nation, which was yet to reach its full potential, has so much to be grateful for, particularly for the industry of its youths in various fields of human endeavor, whose achievements have led to the hoisting of the national flag across the globe. Atiku's counterpart in the Labour Party, Peter Obi, enjoined Nigerians not to despair over the agonizing situation in the country's 63 years of independence, but remain resolute and hopeful that a new Nigeria is still possible. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, in his message, the Lagos State Governor urged Nigerians to unite with renewed determination, hope and commitment to move the country forward against all odds. He said President Tinubu and all the 36 state governors are committed to addressing different challenges currently experienced across the country. The National President, Christian Council of Nigeria, CCN, and Anglican Archbishop of Owerri Ecclesiastical Province, Dr. David Onoha, called on Nigerians to seek God's forgiveness. Still on the news, the Plateau State Governor Caleb Manasseh Mutfwang has approved hazard allowance demanded by the Plateau State health workers beginning from September 2023 to further enhance health service delivery in the state. The state head of civil service, Barrister Mrs. Rauta J. Dakok, revealed this recently while paying host to the state chapter of the Joint Negotiating Council, who paid her a courtesy visit in her office at the J.D. Gumwalk Secretariat, Jos, the capital state. She said Naikota had to go and see the governor on Sunday and discuss the outcome of our meeting on Saturday. I presented the memo to the governor and explained to him your issue, and he reluctantly approved. I immediately minuted it to the salary consultant, and we agreed that it will be implemented in September. So we need your cooperation. Do not disappoint us. I want to plead with you, the health workers, including doctors, not to be selfish. Others among you are working in the same civil service, and it's not fair that one side got an increment and the other did not. Let us always be reasonable because we all go to the same market, she appealed. However, Dakok cautioned civil servants in the state to take their jobs seriously and handle every file according to civil service rules and not based on their political affiliations or interests, because it was time for governance and politics. She urged unions to settle their problems first at the MDA's levels and not directly at the office of head of service so that they can be dealt with accordingly. The outgone Plateau State Chairman of Joint Negotiating Council, JNC, Comrade Titus Malau, earlier congratulated Governor Caleb Mutfwang on his victory at the tribunal and the head of service on her appointment, assuring her of JNC's cooperation. On his part, the acting state chairman of Joint Negotiating Council, Comrade Frangang Daniel Dilbisa, thanked the head of service for being a mother to them at any point they forward their request to her, and promised to give her the needed support and cooperation. Meanwhile, the state chairman of the Joint Association of Health Union, Comrade Solkudashi, appreciated Governor Caleb Mutfwang for approving their request and promised not to disappoint the trust reposed in them. Now, more story says federal government negotiates with World Bank for $1.5 loan. According to reports, the federal government is presently engaging the World Bank on a new $1.5 billion loan. Abbreviated as HOPE, the loan is titled Nigeria Human Capital for Opportunities and Empowerment, based on information obtained from the website of the Washington-based institution. The objective of the loan is to boost systems for improved delivery of basic education and primary health services in participating states. The loan is planned to be implemented in 2024 pending approval by the board of the World Bank Group. It was also revealed that there was another loan titled Nigeria Micro-Fiscal Reforms for Economic Stability and Economic Transformation. However, the amounts for this other loan was not revealed as of the time of filing this report. There were also pending discussions on 5 other loan projects according to findings. These include $300 million for solutions for internally displaced persons and host communities project, $500 million for rural access and agricultural marketing project scale-up, $750 million for Nigeria distributed access through renewable energy scale-up project, $700 million for sustainable power and irrigation for Nigeria project, and $500 million for Nigeria accelerating resource mobilization for reforms P4R. The deliberations will determine if the loans will become active or dropped. Nigeria has secured so far a total of $1.95 billion in loans from the World Bank in the first 4 months of President Bola Tinubu's administration. The first was $750 million approved on June 9, 2023 to boost Nigeria's power sector. The second was $500 million to help the country's drive for women's empowerment and was approved on June 22, 2023. The third was a $700 million loan to enhance adolescent girls' learning and empowerment and was approved on September 21, 2023. The International Bank for Reconstruction and Development and the International Development Association, which make up the World Bank, half of the year's advance loans to Nigeria. And finally on the news, Labour shuns meeting with federal government, insists on strike. Nigerian Labour leaders have insisted on going ahead with their indefinite nationwide industrial action beginning on Tuesday, October 3, 2023. Aviation and electricity union leaders yesterday directed their members to join the indefinite strike to protest the increasing hardships imposed on Nigerians due to the removal of fuel subsidy by the Tinubu administration. Yesterday, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC Deputy General Secretary, Comrade Chris Onyeka, said the strike will still start on October 3rd as scheduled. He said, and I quote, "We are at an advanced stage of the planning and mobilization of members for the strike. We have also set up a joint committee between Trade Union Congress TUC and NLC for proper coordination of the strike. Don't allow anyone to mislead the general public by what the Attorney General of the Federation, AGF, said. If we are going to call off the strike, then we will let the public know." It will be recalled that the NLC had yesterday condemned the report statement of the AGF, who had tried to deter the general public and the two unions from the proceeding with the industrial action by describing it as being in clear violation of the judgment of the National Industrial Court. NLC President Joe Ajaero described the AGF statement as unwelcome news because he was trying to disclose the same judgment which was buried when he said through the Ministry of Justice that the former statement had lapsed due to non-diligent prosecution. Meanwhile, yesterday, both the NLC and the TUC, which were scheduled to meet with the federal government representatives at the presidential villa in Abuja, failed to show up. The labor unions were to meet with the Chief of Staff to the President, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, and the Minister of Labour and Employment, Simon Lalong. It was learnt that Labour leaders left the minister and the presidential aides stranded without any explanation. Pilots, engineers, and other aviation and electricity workers have issued a notice of indefinite nationwide strike beginning from Tuesday, October 3, 2023. In a decision that will shut down flight operations across the country, the aviation workers have hinted of their preparedness to join the strike. This is coming after two labor unions, Nigeria Labour Congress, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar III, have called on the NLC and TUC to drop their planned indefinite strike. Speaking yesterday during a public lecture and special Jumat prayer to commemorate Nigeria's 63rd independence anniversary at the National Mosque in Abuja, President Tinubu appealed to the workers not to embark on the strike action. A recap of major stories says Tinubu grants provisional allowance to federal workers. 63 years later, Nigeria's challenges persist. Nigeria, 63 years, a nation with great potential. Amidst hardship, leaders urge Nigerians to stay hopeful, and Governor Mutfwang okays hazard pay for health workers. Enjoy a blissful independence, Nigerians. I am Lois Drake.